Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I'm going to do a couple things here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Famous last words I'll probably go over, but I finally got done. Actually, that reminds me. I should probably real quick just say I'll do it later. I'll remember to do it later. But it's this one where you're how to say this? It's the why is my brain like just completely not thinking right now? This is weird. Okay, get your brain on track, Jason. Okay, this is the style thing where there was a third style, but actually there was a fourth, and this mattered. Okay, so I finally got this thing, I think, done enough that it's working correctly-ish. But the thing that, okay, so this project, or the solution, if I come back up here, I have these integration tests, and I download these GitHub repositories, and I just rip through them, and I get a result back. I don't really use that to check, does the style really and truly match what the style in the code does? I could potentially look to see, do they have an editor config, and compare it to what I come up with, and do they match or not? That might be something I add later, but that's not really why I do it. I mostly do it just to see, does my code ever fail? Is there some convention or something they're doing in code that I didn't anticipate, and I need to change EditorConfigGenerator so that it doesn't fail? And that was good when I started doing this. It really hasn't happened in a while, which is a nice thing because it means I'm getting this a little bit more stable. That reminds me, I'm looking at something in code here right now and going, I think saying node is this type, I think you can actually say kind or something like that on the node and compare it to an enumeration, and I think that'd be slightly faster. Which also, I have to remember to say something else. But point is, getting back on track to this. The thing I noticed when I was running that is one of the repos I use is rocks. And it was coming back and reporting to me that the style for this one was not what I expected. It was omit if default, which I thought was weird because I don't do that. Except I do that in interfaces because up until C#8, that's what everybody did. And so I started thinking and going, well, wait a minute. If the case is where I do, like, I think I can show that here. I gotta squint. I gotta put my glasses on. Where do I do this? Get setting. Yeah, get the setting here. So I think what I do is I say if down at the bottom, if you said that always was the champion, what I'm also keeping track of, and you may have seen that here, is did this occurrence happen from a public interface member? Or really, I should have called this interface member. Calling a public interface member is probably not correct. So I may actually be missing this in my code. I don't know. The point is, I really got to the point with this thing. I'm like, I spent way too much time on it, and if somebody really, really doesn't like what it's doing, go ahead and have fun. I probably should be looking at these, though, to make sure that they're actually coming from a public interface, because that's what the style says. In any event, if you came up with that value, the always one was what you thought it should be, well, then look and see. Did you actually provide one for public interface members? Or more than you did than provide it, because now in C#8 you can provide it. Okay. So if you're not providing it, you're saying, I always want to do it for non-interface members. So that was my reasoning around that. So not only did I add in the third, omit if default, but I added in the fourth, which is this one for non-interface members. And that's actually what came back for me for rocks, which I think is correct. But I need to actually rethink that because I think maybe the style should be now is that on interfaces you should, because I like being explicit, I should be explicit on interface members as well. and therefore I should be saying something like, public interface ifoo and then public void bar instead of just saying void bar, because it was always public before. So in any event, I just did, I got this done, and I'm like saying for now I'm just going to say it's done, it's done, it's done. I'm not going to spend any more time on this, and I'll close out the bug, which actually, I'll do. Well, I got to come here anyway. I finally decided to dive into Chromage, or I refuse to call it Edgium, just because everybody's calling it that. Refuse to call it that. It's just Edge. It's going to be what Edge is, and they're a month away now, apparently, from saying this is going to be officially Edge. And I finally decided, okay, I'll dive in. I'll use, I think it's the dev one is what I'm using. Did not want to go all the way Canary, or whatever they're calling Insider. There's like 3 levels. And eventually, in just like a month's time, this is going to become the way of running Edge. And I do like, I'll say right now, I do like it. It feels fast, especially like with YouTube. YouTube was just a putz in Edge. It was becoming really, really bad. And, with this using the Chromium engine, it's just fine. So, yeah, I think this is the right decision for Edge, just to basically say, let's hop on the bandwagon. The one thing they don't have is something I actually missed in Edge, which is you could say, clear out all your tabs, but keep the tabs that you were in, so that you shut it down, you come back in, you can say put them all back in. I don't see that yet, so they might not have added that in, and I hope they put that back in because I kind of like that. So in any event, blah, 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 blah. That's the one we're going to have to close. But the one I want to look at now, if I just went to milestones, is look at the ones that are open. Okay. And it's this one, a statistics file. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to work on right now. So we're going to say, was it 3? Yeah, 3. Statistics file. New branch. Create the branch. All right, so if I come back here, I think the thing that I was looking at, now it's interesting because integration tests, well, no, let me look through this quick. Because, the style generator is where it would have it. Okay, there's either generator, and those are in core. That's right. Okay, that's right. So I get a text writer, but I also potentially get a way to create a statistics file. Okay, so I think the thing I want to do, and people are going to maybe be surprised at this, all 58 of my subscribers, is that I don't really know Newtonsoft.Json very well. So but I think what I want to do is if I come down here, I end up having an aggregator. Okay, and so I think what I want to do is use the aggregator and just say print it out to a statistics file. So I think that's the thing I'm going to do first, is just do it. And if that works, then we'll add in the nicety to this method and the one down below to like give you an optional text writer to write out the JSON. So let's do that first. To the Newtonsofts. Newtonsoft.Json. How do I save to a JSON file? That's all I want to do. And if you've done this a lot, you're probably like, geez, Jason, how do you not know this? You're a dummy. I'm like, yes, I am. I am an absolute idiot. All I want to do is just save this out. Okay, so yeah, that's great. You have examples. Just how do I save to a file? Serializing JSON. Serialize an object. Just serialize JSON to a file. Well, there we go. So I got an object. I say write all the. Well, that's boom. Serialize JSON to a string. Serialize JSON. Well, either way is going to work. So let's just say here. No, don't do that. Yes. Using var file, we will just say statistics. And I have to be careful because I want this to happen when I do the integration test. I don't want to run the unit test just yet because it's going to add this file in, I believe. All right, how smart are you? Install package, latest one, sounds good to me. Sure. Okay. And what we're going to put in this file is the aggregator. There we go. Okay. Now, when I run this, I'm giving it a directory. So in the case of my integration test, what I'm going to do here is just say, we're not going to do all these. We're just going to do one for now. So we're going to just comment those up. Okay. And we'll see what this does. Right. Because I have no idea what the file is going to look like. I have no idea what's actually going to be in it. But if it's just this, then that is, I don't want this to be customized and perfect. I just spit out the stats. That's all I want. Okay, so if I come back here and I say open file in full explorer, this was release, yes. Okay. 3.0. There is one here. Let's just double click on it and see what it does. Can you format that nicely? Yes, you can. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want to see. Yeah, that's, wow. That is exactly what I want to see. The item 1 and item 2 here, that's a little unfortunate. I'm kind of curious. Why does it do that? Why did it do that? There's got to be... What does it have for data? Aha! Oh, so it doesn't capture the names of the tuples. That's a little sad, because if I come back to, wait, it did it in here. Okay. Yeah, it goes like, no, stop being a moron, Jason. Yeah, it's these visibility modifiers, and then for that, it has a bunch, it has, that's the key, that's the value, that's the key, that's the value. So unfortunately, it does not put in, can you do, let's look that up. How about Newtonsoft.Json tuple names? C# 7 tuple support. Tuple limiting the respawn compilation or present API boundary. Oh, yeah. I can be convinced that technically it's Linux type of share. Names will get squished and tuple the names go to the tuple element. Yeah, so they do get saved, which would make sense because if you have a library and that one's emitting things out, you would want to be able to see what those names were. Thinking that perhaps this would be implemented with Sarah. This new C# language feature. No, that would be, yeah. 2.json says that the syntax is share of the tuple. Yeah, it sounds like they basically said, seems like it kind of died, and it didn't seem like it had any options. So, well, okay, fine. That's a little sad. I could change this to being, but if I really want to look it up, I could. But yeah, this is, because you can look at this and go, wow, this is, how consistent am I with these things? Expression body method style. C# expression body methods style. Arrow single line occurrence, arrow multi-line occurrence, block occurrence, total occurrences. I don't remember what that's. So how consistent am I? I mean, you have to know a little bit about what my what each of my styles do. I guess I could put in there like a consistency percentage for every data, and then it would itself tell you, well, how consistent are you? Because like it confused me for a second. This one, I believe, with the arrow, is that it's saying, like, yeah, this one plus this one plus this one. But I believe, if I remember right, off the top of my head, this is saying I favor arrow over block. It's just, I think with this one, let's actually look that up. I hear the washing machine saying, I am done, I am done. Get the style, get the setting. And how do I determine? I examine it, because of course you examine it for each arrow in arrows. I think I do something to basically say, is it a single line or a multi-line? Because can you actually state true or false, or when on single line? Yeah. That's the difference, is you can say when on single line or just true always. Okay, I think that's why I did that. But that way I could, make it so that the statistics have each data would have a percentage, and then it's up to the data object to provide a percentage value if you really want. But I'm not saying I'm losing my my enthusiasm for this feature. I'm just saying I really don't need, I don't need it to be this sophisticated. It's just, severity being an enumeration would be nice if I actually knew what 3 was. But this is almost like a debugging file. It's just there to go, well, oh, I bet I know where the 19 are coming from. And that's another thing I think I said is, well, where are these coming from? But if I kept where did all 35,000 of the tab occurrences come from, that would be madness. That would, I think this was like 7 kilobytes in size. That would probably bloat it out to 7 megabytes in size. So if you really wanted to keep it, then not only putting it into the statistics file, but then I'd also have to keep track in every style, every occurrence, and where it happened, which it can be done. That's not too hard, because you know the node, its span, its text span, so it wouldn't be that difficult, but it would really, really, really make this bloated, and I don't think that would be that beneficial. So just having the support in to do this is fine. We can prettify it later. Okay. Sure, whatever. Okay. So what I want to do now is say here is put in text writer potentially because, well, it's a stream writer. Text writer, statistics writer equals default. So you can choose to pass it in or not. Whatever. I can handle that. So you could say that, right? It'd be, oh, yeah. So if statistics writer is that, then we're going to do this. Okay? And so that we don't even need this anymore. And there is no such thing as a serialized async, is there? Right? Serialize, yeah, you can't do it asynchronously. And actually what I could do here is just because, there. So it's not that big of a deal. Now this one, generate from document, where does that all get called from? That gets called from the EditorConfigGenerator, because you can just give it one file. And then in our tests, we can also just give it that. Okay, so got it. Okay, so what I want to do here is kind of the same thing. I do have to be a little bit more adjustable, in the sense that I need to say var aggregator is equal to that. Then we're going to capture this. We're going to say return aggregator, no, that. But then we're going to do this code here and say if you provided it. Now, did that give me any errors anywhere? It shouldn't have, because that's an optional parameter. Okay. Now, what I want to do is, now I want to do DragonFruit here. I really want to do DragonFruit here, which is to say, if you pass in, like I thought of doing DragonFruit here, which is if I pass in a file as the first one, and then the second one, because that would take care of this for me. But the problem is with this one, I can't really state that the first argument is a file or a or a directory. I don't know. So I actually would still need to take the first argument in as path information or something like that. And then the second one, that could be a file that's optional as a file info, and that's, or no, it would be a Boolean, because you don't specify, like it's just going to generate statistics.json. Although I could be saying, if you provide me the name of a JSON file, then that's where it's going to go, default to statistics. Or do I just say, generate statistics file is false by default? You actually have to turn that on, and then that'd be a Boolean, and then you could say either true or false. I think that's the way I want to do this. But I am kind of pressed for time right now, so I don't really want to rush in and put that feature in just yet. So I'm going to leave this for now because I got stuff to do today. And then I'm going to do some other stuff today. And maybe I'll come back to this later tonight or in the very near future, because it should be easy with DragonFruit to put the arguments in here and make it all nice and prettified and don't have to worry about parsing and all that other stuff. So that's actually good, because then that takes care of that. And then if I go back to issues and I go to milestones and I look at there, the conventions one, that's going to be quite fun. Because that's actually trying to figure out a way to put in a rule for conventions based on which ones do you use throughout your code. And so originally I thought this is going to be, I think I've got my head around how you actually generate those now in a editor config file. What really threw me is, how do I do this consistently? And I think I actually have a way to do this, which is I will look at each declaration, field, method, all that stuff, and say, okay, in this spot, it is Pascal case, camel case, snake cased. You put an underscore in front of it or you don't. Try to figure out all the conventions you can do, and then say, for this convention, I used it this many times for a method, or I used it this many times for this in a public, property, blah, blah, blah. And then just use that information to say, okay, in the case where you have a public, private, protected method, field thing, you always want it to be Pascal case, for example, just throwing that out there. But in the case where you have a private field that is static, then you want to put an S underscore in front of it or something like that. And I think I'll be able to do at least some conventions. I don't think I'm going to be able to capture all of them, because maybe there are some people that for horrible reasons still do something like Hungarian notation or convention, where you would put like a GS underscore and then or STR in front of a variable name for string. But I bet there's still a lot of code out there and people will just insist that's the style we should use. I don't want to go that far, I don't think. I'll see, but I don't think I want to go that far. But I think I might have an option around this. And then the last thing I quickly mentioned was, I realized with that integration test project that I have, that I can also just run the performance analyzer that's in Visual Studio on it and get some statistics on potentially where the hotspots are. Are there any places within my code that I can hopefully clean up a little bit or do less allocation or something like that? I don't know. But is there anything I can do to keep it light on its feet and a little faster? So I don't know if I actually have that as an issue here. I think I have something like write performance test, add profiling tests, and I think that was kind of with profile. Well, that's kind of what I just said. So I think if I could almost close that one out and say, put that in there. And then maybe I start looking at some of these other styles that I haven't had yet. Parallelized parsing is another fun one. Making logging optional? What in the world is that? Right now I always log every action during analysis, parsing a file. I should change it. I don't. Oh, that's just what gets printed through here. I actually just don't show that. That's a minor one. So, okay, I'm going to stop. We'll try to finish up the settings one and then maybe do a couple more later on. So, thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.